Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Malcriada Thoughts. Today's a very special episode because we're doing a segment of Malcriada Reviews where I review movies I think are worth reviewing. But with that being said, I did want to come up here and warn you guys about the content ahead because the film touches a lot of heavy topics, a lot of abuse, and the different types of abuse that can happen to women and girls, especially in indigenous communities. And yeah, it's really intense, but it's something that I think it's very important to talk about. And this is just your warning. You don't have to watch the movie. You can listen to the review and me talk about the different subjects. But even if that could be alarming for you or could make you have not the best day, you don't have to listen to this episode. You can click on any other episode, click on any other content, and take care of yourself because that's the thing that matters the most. But with that disclaimer out of the way, I would appreciate it if you would listen to the review because I had a lot of opinions and thoughts with the creation of the film and lots of things to talk about from the storyline and the plot. So, yes. Thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in. Without further ado, Marcada Reviews, Madeinusa. We're back. We're back. You thought you could get rid of us, but we're back. Hey guys, we're back with another episode of Malcriada Thoughts, but here is Malcriada Reviews, and we are reviewing Madeinusa through the lens of both a femme and mask first generation Latina immigrant perspective. Yay!
All right.
And I'll hand it over to Mikey with a synopsis of our Peruvian film.
Hey guys, Mikey P. Jr. here, Mikey Prowl to be mostly, and I'm going to give you guys the synopsis, which is courtesy of Wikipedia. So set in the fictional small and isolated indigenous village of Manayana Cuna, the town no one can enter in Quechua, in the Peruvian Andes. The story covers 3 days in the lives of the villagers and a stranger from Lima. The stranger, Salvador, is sent by a mining company to evaluate the geology of an area, but he must stay in Manayana Cuna over the weekend until travel can be provided. Salvador appears to be unwelcome. Salvador appears to be unwelcome as he arrives at the beginning of Tiempo Santo, which is holy time. This is a religious festival spanning from Good Friday all the way to Easter Sunday, and is sequestered in a barn by the town's mayor, Gallo. The villagers of Manayana Cuna believe that during holy time, God, symbolized by the effigy of Christ, is dead end, and therefore nothing is a sin. Gallo is the father of Madeinusa, a teenage girl who is the protagonist of the film, and he has long been trying to take her virginity. However, Madeinusa has been able to hold him off, promising he will relent during holy time. At the beginning of the weekend, Madeinusa is selected as the festival's Madre Dolorosa, much to her sister Chala's dismay. Madeinusa, desperate to leave the village and go to Lima, where her mother left for many years before, becomes interested in Salvador and has a conversation with him in the family's barn. During the town's night march, Madeinusa loses her virginity to Salvador. When Gallo finds out, he intimidates Salvador, but he doesn't physically harm him. Later, the film shows Salvador watching through a crack in the house wall as Gallo has sex with Madeinusa. Madeinusa begs Salvador to take her back to Lima against the backdrop of the high Sierra Andes mountain landscape. At the end of the film, Madeinusa slips rat poison into her father's soup, poisoning him. The two sisters claim the blame on Salvador, and the film ends with Madeinusa sitting in what used to be Salvador's spot on the truck back to Lima, suggesting he was killed or imprisoned by the villagers.
Girl boss, gatekeep, gaslight.
Yeah, there's a lot in this film. There is.
All right. So that was a synopsis. Let's get into reviewing, critiquing, compliments, comments. Do you have anything to start us off with?
Yeah. So we were actually like briefly talking about this earlier, how you mentioned it being a horror film. the first couple times I watched this, I considered it a drama, but this time I don't know what exactly happened. Where like I really noticed the like horror influences. Like this film, it's just like how I mentioned before. Like it's just one of those very like thematically dense films, and the presentation of it is just it's weird to say like beautiful just because of the subject matter at hand. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very good and specifically I'm not gonna say that word right. I'm not gonna say it. It's a really weird I hesitate to say beautiful because of the subject matter, but it's
Like
just a
aesthetic.
very
The
yes, like
aesthetic.
aesthetically beautiful,
Yeah.
aesthetically pleasing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's dark as shit.
Yeah.
And it's a very great film on like just how the director what was her name? Just because I don't wanna
Her name is Claudia Llosa.
there you go. Yeah. This is her directorial debut, and that's why I was like, wow, the fact that she was able to do something like this for your first film, like it's like this is just a very impressive film that I'm honestly really excited to talk to you about because it it goes places.
I love that you said it's so beautiful and but it's so dark inside. And that's a perfect
Mhm.
metaphor for our main what's it called? Heroine? Is that how you say heroine?
Yeah, heroin. Think.
Um Madeinusa, the main character, she has a sister. Her sister is named, I believe,
Uh, Chale, I think.
Chale. Yes.
Chale, yeah.
And um she is basically crowned the kind of like their spring queen, but of
Mm-hmm.
the town of to their festivities, and she is the virgin of
Mm-hmm.
the season. Which means she gets to be portrayed as the Virgen Maria in the ceremony of their town for Tiempo Santo. And it's really the that thing that you said, like she's beautiful but she's so dark. It's like, oh yeah, you see this like this indigenous woman, she's beautiful, she's gorgeous, she sings, she's enchanting, um especially in her virgin attire, the
Mm-hmm.
festival attire, but she is capable of so much more than is given credit for.
Mm-hmm.
And there's darkness in her, and it's not darkness that she created on her own. You know what I mean? So I love
Mm-hmm.
that you said that. And I love that you talked about Claudia Llosa because we have things to talk about with her actually. We actually
I
do.
saw.
We have things to talk about with her, Miss
Mm-hmm.
Ma'am. Um the okay. So a little bit of background for me. My father is Peruvian, my dad is from Lima, but my grandma, his mother, is from Cusco. And she is what they call a cholita, and is what they call indigenous women of Peru. Man, like the things that my family and like the people I went through were so reminiscent in this. Not to be like not to say any specific people, but like just all the indigenous women in the world and mostly indigenous people in
Yeah.
Peru. Oh my God. Ah, like
No, always
the
put last.
yeah. So the first thing I thought when I saw this movie, how'd you pay the people? That was the first thing. I'm gonna be so serious. What did you give them? What did you tell them you were doing? You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I did research on her, and she is let me see, I believe she is Peruvian. Like her nationality, she was born in Peru, but her family is also like Italian. And I was like, what happened? And of course, I was like, of course you didn't pay these people like actual money. She paid them
Mm-hmm.
in here's what I got from the people doing research on it. No direct payment was were made. Instead, Yosa's crew bartered with the villagers, offering material goods they needed, from pots and pans to food and medication, in return for use of the location and performances by the inhabitants. So, the actors in this film, most of the actors are people of the pueblo. They're not
Mm-hmm.
professional actors. And um I was really surprised. I was like, they did fucking
They're
good.
pretty
What
good,
the
yeah.
hell? Like they did. I thought like it was like a whole crew
Mm-hmm.
thing, but no, they were just
They're
like
like it was
right,
believable. It was believable.
right.
Please.
It was so good. It was so good. But the fact that
like this person didn't even offer like an amount. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, like because imagine how much money you'd have to pay these people actually.
Like it's like somewhere else.
It'd have been so much more
Yeah.
than pats and pots and
Mm-hmm.
pans and food and medicine, baby girl. Like that pissed me
Yeah.
off to my core. Respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
Respectfully, Claudia Llosa, do better. Because that's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's one thing. This was again in 2006, where sadly, like people didn't really care what like where the if people were getting paid. Do they even care now? Do they even care now if actors get
Hardly.
paid?
And we
Exactly.
literally just had that strike.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
the SAG, was it SAG?
Mm-hmm. Like
Strike,
yeah,
like
the
that's
writers one, yeah.
crazy. That's crazy. And so you see how acting is so a job for to be an
Mm-hmm.
actor is so exploitive almost
Big time.
to people here in America, to Americans, people who apparently have everything, every right, apparently. It's so hard for them. Imagine how hard it is for indigenous people
Mm-hmm.
in their pueblos. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
And but the thing is like they didn't look at it this way, you know? They were because well, they don't know how they didn't have any knowledge of how I didn't even know how the industry worked until
Mm-hmm.
recently. Imagine people who like are miles and miles away from Hollywood with not a lot of technology.
We're
Like,
essentially like cut off, like yeah.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's crazy. That's crazy. That's something I did not like.
Mm.
That's wild. But what do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, no, yeah. I honestly I didn't even know that until I read your notes for the review, and I was like, oh my God, that's yeah. It's I mean it's and it's funny too because she kind of talks about like exploiting in her film, and then like kind of did it making the film, so it's kind of like oh,
Yeah, it's
like
it's
all right,
really no way. And then like it's really like just ironic. It's just
yeah.
ironic. It's just
That's the
like
perfect word, ironic. Yeah.
yeah, it's the perfect word, ironic. And it's just like that's just not how I would
Mm-hmm.
go about things because I've been thinking of like making films and I'm like, I need to get a budget. I need to pay my actors. I need to pay them like this much each. And I need to make sure everyone's fed. If we go places, that's what I'm
Exactly.
thinking about. And then to
Mm-hmm.
see like these people didn't even offer them like checks,
Yeah.
contract, none of like that's wild. So I'm happy that like we're able to talk about these things because
Mm-hmm.
when I'm thinking of movie reviews, these are the things I want to know. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care
The
if like
behind the
you
scenes stuff.
exactly this is what I want to know because like because yes because that matters
It's
so
important
much.
to know this stuff
Exactly.
because they can easily like get glossed over and like the problems will continue. You know what I mean?
hmm all right, moving on to like the other things. Here are the disclaimers, by the way. These are the disclaimers and problems with the creation of the film that I thought were worth mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
And don't worry, like we're gonna get into the perspective of the actual people who were filming this film, the actors and the people of the pueblo. So we're gonna get into it, so don't worry. So obviously this film got her a lot of controversy, but she admitted here, I'm reading over here, she admitted to plunging into the project without considering the possible repercussions of her work. So, and get this. Do you know where she got the inspiration for this film, Mikey?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm kind of scared to ask. If I know, hit
So
me.
most how do you say most Criolla women, so women in Lima, the capital, are descendants and have a lot of European ancestry,
Mm-hmm.
um, because of colonization, etc. So the people with more, who are more criollos, is what they call them, are live in the cities. These are the people
Mm-hmm.
you see in the cities mostly. Obviously, not everyone is rich. Not everyone just because you're automatically like just because you're light skin or you have fair skin or you're criollo doesn't mean you automatically have money. Like that's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where you see these cities and big like these cities forming.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the people who are working in these cities aren't criollos for the most part. They are indigenous people. They are people from pueblos who have to commute. There are people from pueblos who there are people who left their pueblos to live in the city to send money back to their pueblos. They are people to send money and like resources back to their pueblos. They're
Mm-hmm.
indigenous people trying to make a life of themselves in the city, trying to survive. And a lot of the indigenous women who go to the city work as housekeepers, work as domestic workers.
Mm-hmm.
Claudia Llosa, her uh nana was an indigenous woman. This is where she got the inspiration to do her film. Her nana, her
Mm-hmm.
name is Arsemia. She is supposedly the mother who left the
Oh,
pueblo.
okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. And who disappeared. And then she made
Mm-hmm.
this story from that.
From her, yeah.
And it was just really like insane.
Yeah.
Like the fact that like just because you're born in like the same country, you think you have the same like right to make
Mm-hmm.
this type of art, which yes, you ate with the visuals. But like I'm not gonna lie, she ate with the visuals. She
Mm-hmm.
did. And directing it, it was a very well directed, a well thought out film.
Mm-hmm.
So it really surprises me to see like the ignorance behind all this. Like
Oh, yeah.
so that's how I know like it was above her. This art was above her. And
I could say that.
it created a big wave, and it put Peru, like I think it won a lot of awards. It won a lot of awards.
I
But
guess
yeah.
I guess it makes sense too, like why this film feels very surreal. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It feels very like obviously the village and everything, all the festives, the traditions are all fictionalized, but it feels very fantasy as well. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I guess that's why, and I know that is a problem where like um people like to what's the word fantasize. You know what I mean? Not fantasize, but it's okay. So it's like that trope with indigenous people where they call them what is it the like the magical other, I believe. You know what I mean? Where they add like
Yeah.
that extra essence to them that's
Yep.
not necessarily there. You know what I mean?
Yes, the
And
magical. Yeah, I've heard the trope, but with like the N word.
it
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah. So there's that one too, and there is one that's specifically for indigenous people as well. But I can't remember the correct word, but I know there's something along those lines too.
There's actually like I've been like seeing a lot of like that trope because I've been in like old movies and things like that. Like I hate
Mm,
when I see that trope, that specific trope. So like I've been really wanting to like see movies that either talk about that or not, or like take that whole thing apart. And there's a new
mm.
series with Justice Smith on
Oh,
Amazon that's coming out. I'll talk to you about it later.
all right, sounds good.
But yeah, like I've heard I don't want to say, that word because I don't think it's my space for me to say,
Hmm.
but it is the magical other and the
Hmm.
magical the like the mystical person of color who like
Hmm.
comes and solves everything for you.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I hate that. And I hate that that's the perception that white people have of Black and Indigenous people.
Yeah, like
And
they
like
see something exotic and then want to
yeah.
like add that extra, just that extraness to it that isn't necessarily needed.
Hmm. Hmm. Exactly. Like it's in a way dehumanizing because even if
Yeah.
you like say that we're magical or that we're whatever, like you're still taking away our humanity
Hmm.
because you put us on a pedestal and you want us to act like the best
Yeah.
Mexican person, the best, the holiest, whatever. And
Hmm.
that's dangerous and yeah, so we don't want that. And I can definitely see kind of something of the sort, but in this film, mostly in like what you said, like this whole town seems magical and crazy.
Hmm.
It's not specifically just one person, it's the whole.
Yeah, it's the whole
Yeah,
like as a group,
I see that.
and there is one thing I've noticed about Peruvian cinema is that so it obviously includes a lot of indigenous people, a lot of their perspectives, but you will encounter some films like that Like there's another film that just came out recently with the same actress who plays Madeinusa, but I believe it's a different director.
Magali, I followed
Yeah,
her.
she's so good. Like, oh my God. And she comes out in basically every Peruvian movie out there right now, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Like,
And I
for
love that for her. And I love that for
but
her.
but yeah, like so the film that she comes out in that I just recently saw a while back was called um Altiplano,
Mm.
and it kind of has that same like essence where like a lot of the like indigenous customs feel very surreal and stuff, and yeah, like that one kind of like that one left me kind of confused too because like I really enjoyed the visuals. Like it was very art house film. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So like I was kind of expecting like very surreal stuff like that. But then it's also like I don't know how I feel about that. You know what I mean?
Dude, yes.
Like because then it goes back to like with this film, it's just like
Uh-huh.
okay, like I don't
I would
know.
love to see it and I would love to go check it out. I definitely want to
Definitely check
go
it out. I'm
see.
gonna give you so many Peruvian recommendations. Just saying.
Please, please. I'm on the lookout. But no, yes, literally like, and that's why I feel, dude, that's how I feel with all these mainstream, like all the mainstream movies that come out. It's like, oh my God, you're beautiful, but I take a bite out of you and you taste like plastic. You taste like nothing.
Oh
Literally
my God.
nothing. So like, what's the point of you being here? Like, and it's so annoying because like
Mm-hmm.
I see the way that all ties into white supremacy. It's all about
Yeah, big time.
image. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
about substance. It's all about image and how everything looks, not how things really are.
Yeah,
Just idiot.
exactly.
You fucking idiot. Do you actually care about what people actually care? Idiot? No. I look pretty. That's all you need to care about right now. And it's just the big virus. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
but no, I wanted to tell you something hilarious. So after getting like all the controversy and the like backlash after this movie,
Mm-hmm.
happened, she released a how do you say a piece called "¿Quién en Perú no ha mamado este racismo?" saying all you bitches have been this way. And like to be honest, yeah,
Yeah.
like uh everyone has been subject to indoctrination and to colonization. So, yes, but for me, it kind of felt like she was kind of like avoiding taking
Mm-hmm.
accountability. And then
Mm-hmm.
she equated being like feeling like an outsider. She was like, I also know what it's like to be an outsider. I have dyslexia.
Welcome
So
to the club.
I thought that I thought that was very I thought that had need to be noted. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But the last thing I want to read, which is what I want to care about is what the people felt, and the people who were making this film, they didn't feel taken advantage of, even though like you could say that they were, but they had fun creating the film. They
Mm-hmm.
love seeing themselves on film and to see that they are like not part of this project.
Mm-hmm.
And here's one of the things that these supporters had to say. It is interesting to note that Yosa found her most strident defenders in her lead actress Magali Solier and in the locals of Can Rey Chico, the majority of whom participated in making the film. Solier reads the film in a distinctly political and positive light, and in her interviews affirms that she saw her role of Madeinusa as a unique opportunity both to denounce the sexual abuse she witnessed in her community. Yeah, like so the people who were making this had fun. They had a good time. They did not feel taken advantage. They got
Mm-hmm.
their necessities, and that's all I care about essentially.
Yeah.
I'm gonna I'm gonna call the fuck out because what's her name? The criollos know how much we pay for this stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
shame on them. None of the shame on the people who participated and accepted. Shame on
Mm-hmm.
people for taking advantage of people and not telling them
Exactly.
they're right, they're due more and their work is worth more than what they accept. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was the last thing I have on the, how do you say, on the critiques. Those are the things I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that we needed to peep and call out. But at the same time, like art is meant to make us uncomfortable. Art is meant to, how do you say, inspire these conversations.
Exactly.
And maybe this lady wasn't like, didn't have the best intentions, but now we have this space to interpret things and call things
Exactly.
out. And now people can use this review and make their films better. And
Exactly.
yeah,
And then I did see she was only like 30 at the time. Not that I'm giving her excuse, but like she was that's still kind of young, you know what I mean?
It,
Especially if you're gonna be doing something like at this scale, you know what I mean?
yeah,
So
she was
like
young.
I'm
It
I'm
was
hoping
2006. It was a
yeah,
while
exactly.
back.
I'm hoping like now she did learn from that, you know what I mean? And she's not doing that now. Like I would love to hear that she's still like that she's learned from that, you know what I mean? And is actually paying her workers and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Which
hopefully she is.
we'll see. We'll see.
Hopefully.
All right. Let's get into the themes.
Let's do it.
All right. First theme that I find noteworthy: sibling rivalry. Parents pitting siblings against each other for the validation of authority. This is something that I peeped. What do you think?
Hmm. No, that's it's definitely there. And basically from like the first frame you see like just how favored Madeinusa is compared to Chale.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean it gets to her to the point where like she is hardly ever like what's the word? Like she's like full of lice, her hair isn't really combed, you know what I mean? And like you can really see like how much it's really messing up Chale, you know what I mean?
Yeah, she doesn't feel
Being
loved.
yeah, exactly. So I definitely picked that.
I saw that a lot, and I think that this is like it was really like because as women, like women are very much like pit against each other.
Mm,
I find it interesting that there was no sons and they didn't choose to show any like boys in there.
right.
Because but we did see Salvador. We did see how the
Mm,
dad treated Salvador. He's
exactly.
very violent with the women, but with the man who literally um how do you say laid with his
Picture.
daughter.
Hmm.
Yeah, like he's like he won't even touch him. He won't even physically harm him. Yeah, he'll get a
Hmm.
little rowdy, but he won't touch
You want to
him.
like actually do anything hurtful, but he's like
Exactly.
screaming in his daughter's faces, like yeah.
I think like the way they she showed the way just the way they showed the division between the girls and the way they were being pitted against each other was very clear. Because at the beginning, like you said, Chale had some lice in her hair,
Mm,
and Mave was like, "Come here, I'll comb it." And they're grooming each other, they're helping each other, only to be like like their father to be in between them in their bed in the
hmm.
next frame. He gets
Like
physically in
separating
between.
them,
Yes, like literally they use
like
like the body to
to the
do that.
point that like she like are we gonna go linear with this or do we kind of just like go all
Let's
over the
go
place?
anywhere.
Okay,
Let's go
so like
where
it
our things take us.
okay, so it's kind of like to the point where like we see Mada brushing her hair, but then like by the end of the story, like she cuts off her braid. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
that's like a huge fucking thing because like there's even a quick little conversation where Mada basically tells her like you should really put like your hair's all loose and that's why like your shit's all like
You get piojos.
messed up. You know what I mean? Yeah, like that's like, getting the piojos and stuff. And yeah, I know this is something that I've noticed that like you see that like again that division to the point where like they're harming each other in very not physically but like in very emotional ways.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
like the jealousy of it all, like
Hmm.
and the taking away your hair. Like they're trying to like she's trying to take away her beauty,
Yeah.
but it's really not that's not what's making Gaio want to like favor her more. It has nothing
Hmm.
to do with her. It has everything to do with his fucked up head and nothing to do with
Yeah.
these girls. And it's so sad how this happens. And this happens in almost in every family to different extents. We see this in a very extreme end, but it happens a lot.
Mhm.
And for people to be, yeah, it's just, we'll get to that a little bit later, but yeah,
Mhm.
like it's really crazy. And that kind of like segues into the next theme that I really liked that I saw, which was our parents are our first gods.
Yeah. I
And
like that.
what made me put this theme down was the parallel scenes between the Jesus monito, and and the father Don Cayo.
And there are a
Uh,
lot of scenes where he's like in these like these religious artifacts are like near him a lot.
like he's
Yeah.
the el mero mero, he's like the alcalde of the town, he's the mayor of the
Yeah.
town. So, but he's also the person who leads with the religious aspects of it too. So there's
Mm-hmm.
lots of power. There's both um he has a type of jurisdiction, like
Mm-hmm.
legal jurisdiction of the town, but also spiritual jurisdiction of the town. So that's
And
crazy.
like over his daughters as well. Like it's
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's well, that's an interesting way to put it. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
actually think about that.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
And like when they do the ceremony that Madeinusa gets chosen to be the Virgin Mary for, she has to do a whole ceremony. And when the Jesus doll is laid down and dead, she kisses him. And then
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the film, we see her doing the same exact thing, the same image, but she's kissing her
Um,
father once
yeah,
he passes away. And that was really insane to me because it really like showed the way men and masculine figures hide themselves in their religion, and they want to be idolatry, like they quieren ser, they idolize, there we go, they
idolize.
want to be
Yeah, I like.
idolized, just like Jesus, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? They want that following, they want the following of Jesus, they want the glory of Jesus, but they are not.
Nowhere near it.
They are not that. That's
Nowhere near
not
it.
what, like, that's not what Jesus wants you to do. Because
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, yeah, like, and but let's not even say that, like, that's used that I want to speak to the aspect of colonization. You have to acknowledge the fact that these men, even though they're colonizers, they still respected the indigenous men more than the
Mm-hmm.
indigenous women. And they were like, you could be like me, you could be like me, we're both men, see?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to adapt to what I think and what in my religion and all this stuff. And you could be like me, you could also have power over these people. And not saying that all indigenous men and not all men fell into this type of thinking, but a lot of men did. A lot of them did, not because they wanted to, but sometimes because of the survival.
Yeah,
Because they, or sometimes they were pretending so much they forgot they were
they just
pretending.
yeah,
Hmm.
stuck with them.
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I want to talk about for the
Yeah.
our parents are our
Mm.
gods. Like these girls see their father like a god. They do everything
Yeah.
they say, no questions. Like their faith is so loyal and it's blind. I don't want to say blind faith. That's an ugly term. It's complete devotion
Mm-hmm.
and without question. So I thought that was
Yeah.
very interesting.
No, it is. You actually got my brain going hard right now when you made the parallel with her kissing God and then her kissing her dad. Because like
Hmm.
in the first scene, like we're essentially saying goodbye to sin. You know what I mean? And then
Hmm.
that's why like they're able to do whatever they can during those that weekend. And then when she finally kisses her dad, it's essentially saying like goodbye to that like authority. Like you know what I mean? Like you see what I mean? Like it's
Like I
essentially
lay you
saying
to
like
rest.
yeah, like it's over. Like
Hmm.
I'm doing my own thing type of deal. Like
Yeah.
it's like essentially like I'm cutting ties by that point.
Yeah.
With like at first it was a sin, and now it's like cutting ties with everything that he represents, which is what we were just talking about. And now that's I love talking about film because of this
There's
stuff.
so like every little thing could be
Like it
something.
just exactly. Oh my God, it's amazing.
Dude, okay. More we're falling into the more masculine energy part of it all, which I bring up the theme of working men. And I think this is so important in our community. So this is what I have written down for working men.
Mhm.
Labor under capitalism isolates the worker from his community.
Big time.
So, what made me write this down, what made me like think about this theme was the fact that the chauffeur of the
Mhm.
mountains, he literally puts on this act every day for the people he drives around. And he is so drained from talking and conversing with people all day that when he gets home, they call him the mute because
He's not.
yeah, his social battery is so drained. He has nothing to give. He has no water. He has no water to give to his daughters, to his plants,
Mhm.
to water his community. He can't because all the work he did was putting into making money.
For his
And
family and stuff.
Yeah, and that was just such a it was such a that was like the theme that it was really ugly because dude when the one time I did go when I was conscious to go to Peru, these
Mm,
were the only ways you could get around. These were the only
mm,
ways you can get around when we went to Cusco. And if you wanted to visit like the like Machu Picchu, like you have to be with a chauffeur.
okay.
And so it just got me thinking of all the men who like are working like this and like the women of their lives, like they want to hear these men. They want to like talk to them. They want to know what's in
Mm,
their mind because they know we are both flesh and blood and we have the same thoughts and we have the same like aspires, but they're tired.
yeah.
They're fucking tired. And it was so sad like to see that. And like I don't know if you remember, but we first see this character, the chauffeur, when Salvador, the outsider, is stops by the town. He's being
Mm,
driven by this chauffeur, and he tells him this story. He starts telling him this story about his friend. It's like, oh yeah, I have this friend. We call him this, and da da da. You know what they call me? And then he basically his story. But Salvador is like not listening to him. He's like, yeah,
yeah.
whatever, man. La 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 la. And then he's just looking out the window, like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I need to go
Yeah,
work
like
at
shut
the,
up already, basically.
yeah, exactly. He's like, I need to go work at the mines. Like, this is just my ride. Like, ugh.
Mm,
Like, yeah, he's coming from the big city. But then when we see Madeinusa, like, be in that same spot, like, she also isn't listening.
yeah.
That's the thing. She also isn't listening. She's like, "Hey, let's go!" She's all like, "Oh my God, I'm going to the city." And then, but Salvador's like, "Fuck Lima. I don't
He's
give a
like, I'm
fuck."
not even going there.
Yeah, so it's just like the change, like, is just so different. And like, but in the like, you see, like these, they're both young kids. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm,
Made is younger. She's like 14, I believe. She's like really little,
mm,
like a teenager. And what's his face? Salvador is like in his 20s. So they're both two different generations of like kids, right? Like going in his truck. So, but he stays consistent, you know what I mean? So I was like, that's
yeah.
crazy
True.
because because our kids, our children represent like the new generations, they represent
In
their
the future.
future. And
Yeah.
so I thought that was really cool. Like that yeah, we get to be doing this, the descendants, we get to be doing this, but because these men were putting in
Working
this,
their asses off.
yeah, because they were
Mm,
putting in the work, and it's it sucks that you can't see it until you're past it.
yeah, that's
So
exactly how it is.
I wanted to give all the working men who are drained and are the mutes of the house when they get home. I wanted y'all to get your flowers and
And well, actually, like, so I work in construction, so I've had my fair share of meeting a lot of people who have who are here legally, you know what I mean, like work here and stuff. And like
Mhm.
I've seen how hard they work, like, you know what I mean? They'll be like working at like where I'm at, and then they'll be like, all right, well, I gotta go with this other company, go do the night job. So I'll
Yeah,
see you guys tomorrow. And it's like, what the fuck, man, like
yeah,
take a rest. Like
they can.
that's it's like nothing but my full respect for them, you know what I mean? And like
See,
even like Anthony Bourdain like once said that like in his like what 20 years of working as a chef that like the only people that have come asking for like a dishwasher job have
mm-hmm,
been immigrants and stuff, you know what I mean? Because they're the ones that are willing to like really work hard and like just put in the extra work. So
mm-hmm.
like so yeah, just like my full respect to them because it's a lot.
Yeah, and it sucks. It sucks because like sometimes sometimes these men think that not to be like right,
Hmm.
but it sucks because sometimes like because they get so used to this routine, they don't know what else to do.
Yeah,
So when they're like given the opportunity, like for example, to like relax with their kids or something, they don't know how to speak to them.
yeah,
And it's so sad. And it's not, how do you say, it's not anyone's fault. It's just how the chips fell.
yeah,
But how do you say, it's it's just it's a rob. It's a theft. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's such a
Big time.
theft. It's a
Big
theft
time.
of time. It's a theft of bonding with family. And fuck, because like even though like maybe they're home, their mind is still at work.
Yeah.
Sometimes their
Big time.
mind's still at work, and that's a theft, and fuck that. All right. Moving on to the next theme, which was indigenous religious practices. All right. I wrote down something pretty chunky for this, so let me get into it.
Read it out.
So, Tiempo Santo is a fictional custom in the made-up town of Manayaincuna. Yes, it does draw inspiration from Andean customs such as la fiesta de la Virgen de Natividad. But it is important to note that the present festivities are heavily influenced by Spanish colonization. Though dark dynamics are shown in the festivities, the customs of Manayancuna also show resistance in their rituals. While the men of the village follow the customs forced on them by the Spanish, the women of the village forge their own path through different means. And that's something I kind of goes with what I was saying, like the dad,
Mm.
most of their fathers, like they pretended like they were adapting these customs by the Spanish out of survival, that they
Mm.
forgot that they were actually supposed to be pretending, and they're actually really resisting. And you could see that in the rituals of the men, like when they cut off their ties,
Mhm.
they, how do you say, they sleep with whoever they want. They're not bound by marriage, that the marriage idea that the Spanish brought on us. And but at the same time, well, you see most of the men are celebrating this, right? And like, yeah, the women of the town, the women of the town come and like lay with them, right? But you don't see a lot of like children. You don't see
Mhm.
mothers and children. Like, so the kids and the mothers and the people who have kids, they don't get to, they don't get this
Partake
freedom.
in the
Yeah,
like, yeah.
they don't get this freedom. They have to still be taking care of their kids. They have to
Mhm.
still manage the household. They have to still do all these things regardless of the festivities. And then you see this when the men of the town steal that how do you say?
The
Steal the puerquito.
Mhm.
They steal a
Yeah,
woman's pig. Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
then
go
you
ahead.
see that lady crying like outside of the building where these men were like cutting their ties and essentially pairing up with the women that they're gonna sleep with that night. So it's just
Mhm.
like you see that like contrast, you know what I mean? Where like how these festivals are clearly, you know, they clearly favor the men where they can do whatever the hell they want, steal
Mhm.
pigs, sleep with whoever they want, and then the women kind of just have to deal with the repercussions of it.
The thing I noticed is that lady who got her pig stolen, she
Mhm.
had a little boy.
Yeah, and that's
She had
the
a little
only
boy.
time you
You
really
see a
see.
little boy.
And I like not I like that, but like it was smart because it kind of shows you like how these mentalities continue on through the generations. Hmm.
Literally that, dude. Oh my God. We
Hmm.
literally synced. Yeah, because the boy is seeing how do you say? When you see someone who looks like you, who has your appearance,
Hmm.
you're going to mimic that. So if
Yeah.
this little boy sees the other men, other only other men in the village, he only has his mom, as you see.
Hmm.
Because if not,
Yeah,
then
because I'm sure the man would have like been like, hey,
exactly.
like back the fuck up. Yeah.
Exactly, right? At least you would think.
Hmm.
Um, unless like his husband was participating. Oh my God,
That too.
imagine.
Oh my God. That too.
Imagine. I wouldn't put it past you.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
wouldn't
honestly,
put it past you.
he was probably off doing his own thing. Like,
I wouldn't put it past you.
yeah, yeah.
And you see how the little boy, how do you say, is seeing how these men are doing that. He's like, okay, bet. That's what men do. Men
Hmm.
steal. Men take what they want without, because they're strong. That's what I'm gonna do. See my
Because
mom
they're
crying?
allowed to.
See my mom
Hmm.
crying? I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like that. I'm gonna go be like that.
Hmm.
And that was so important, I feel. Um, yeah, and it's so sad because I saw like my dad in that. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I saw my dad like just seeing like the way other men in his pueblo acted, you know what I mean?
Just
And
like
he
very
was,
like machistas and stuff.
yeah,
Like,
and because my
mm-hmm.
grandma was the one who worked. My grandma
Mm-hmm.
was the one who worked. She would go, my dad, who's like, ella vendía naranjas y like chicle and gum and stuff like that. She would be a
Mm-hmm.
little vendor, and she'd have to go work every day, so she'd be missing. And his dad was like not the best, so that's
Mm-hmm.
all what he would see. So it's everything just clicking. I've never seen that portrayed in the ever.
Mhm.
I,
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, I guess my dad was like that, you know,
Mm.
but
That
but
kind of gives
I
you an understanding of why.
yeah. But it's like, but I
Mm.
wouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? Like I can't say because I had TikTok, I had
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, had Tumblr, I had Facebook, I had
Yeah, like
Instagram. I didn't have none, but my dad had nothing. He didn't
I
have
think like we
technology.
we have
Exactly.
so many different perspectives now, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
back then, if you become what you grow up around, you know what I mean? And
Exactly.
it's
And
really hard to like break out of it. And this kind of goes back to how we were saying that like our parents came to the US like with these very like instilled mentalities
Mhm.
that they were like that they try to impose on us, you know what I mean? And like luckily we have the resources to like see why they did what they did, like understand where they come from,
Yeah,
but then break off of it and like um basically like keep the good, leave the bad type of situation.
exactly.
You know what I
Like
mean? Like
keep the
because
good and
like we're not completely
understand.
trying exactly because we're not completely trying to like forget our parents' culture or anything. We're
Mm-hmm.
just trying to see how essentially, you know, just like what I said, like just grab the good and leave the bad.
Exactly.
Mm,
Exactly. And I love that we are able to talk about this. Oh my God. I love that
yeah,
you got that connection
I
too.
got it.
Okay. See, this is why we love the feminine mass perspective. All right.
There you go.
All right. So more on gender stuff, more on the made up constructs of the world. Another theme that I noticed a lot, obviously, how could you not? Virginity.
Yeah.
And here's my take. Many critique this movie as a racist portrait of indigenous Peru. However, the stories of many women in my family are alarmingly similar. Though Tiempo Santo is fictional, it does a great job in disturbing the audience with the incestuous dynamics of the town. I believe the portrayal of these festivities serve to reflect the very bigotry found in urbanized areas in Western society as well. Indigenous pueblos are not a perfect paradise immune to colonized thinking. In fact, they are the most affected by it. And the thing I have to say with this is like, dude, okay, the waves this film made are good because I saw this movie, I sobbed like 3 billion times like through all of it, and then I went and I told my parents, I was like, go watch this. It's free on Tubi. And let me know what you think. And dude, my dad got like a really heavy reaction, dude. He got a really heavy reaction, dude, because he went into that same mentality. What the fuck is this shit? They're showing that indigenous Peru,
Hmm.
like we're all a bunch of borrachos, a bunch of that they do this and that. That's ugly. No, 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 no. And I
Hmm.
was like, oh, okay.
Like now you see why people were like had such a visceral reaction to this.
Yeah. Like I understand. Like at
Hmm.
first glance, I understand completely that
Hmm.
perspective. But then I dig deeper, right? And I'm like, Dad, but this happened. This happened in our family. This has happened like literally not too many generations ago. And it's still
Hmm.
happening in like our current generations, like abuse and all this stuff. It's happening. So why would you say this is not an accurate portrayal? Because it happens a lot. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
that's what I want to say. Like because that's why I was really shook by it. I was like, I wanted to go in. I was going into it, okay, Midsummer vibes, okay. I was thinking it was like an actual indigenous like director. I'm
Hmm.
like, who else would make this? And then I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I
yeah.
forgot. I forgot. I
There's
forgot.
other people out there,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
And I like talked him like through it, and then I was like, we had a nice conversation, and then I was like, I think what you want to say is that you want better and more positive Peruvian indigenous representation. And he was like, École qua, mijita. And that's what he says.
I do like hearing that you were able to talk to him about this stuff, you know what I mean? And like have a conversation and kind of like even if he did end up leaving, like he was able to like you guys were just able to talk about it and like this is what makes like cinema just amazing, you know what I mean? Because it gives you the opportunity, like what we're doing right now is talking about these like very intense subject matter and stuff and kind of just talk through it, you know what I mean? And see what was right, what was wrong. And
And it's really interesting, like, and the fact that like this movie like made me have all these conversations and discoveries with
hmm
my family and all this stuff. Like I can only imagine what it like now with this understanding of it, now with our review out in the world, what it
Hmm.
will do for other Peruvian girls, other Peruvian
Exactly.
indigenous girls who saw this movie and were like, "Hey, what the fuck?" You know what I mean? Like this is your space. Exactly. What the fuck? We'll talk about it. Yes. Okay, moving on. A very, 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 very important theme in this movie was gender. And here is what I thought about it. The movie shows the dangers of seeing everyone and everything as one-dimensional, purely this or purely that, no in between or a combination. If the world reduces a female person into just her sex, her sexuality, or reproductive organs, then everyone will just see her for only her sex, even her own father and other women in the community.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's what I think that's what it's that gender is being used to say in this movie.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like we see that scene where like they grab all the essentially little girls, you know what I mean? And they're essentially praising them because they're being virgins, you know what I mean? And like they're choosing who's the I don't want to like the virgin, like the most
The most
virgin one, you know what I mean? Like you see what I was trying to say, like you know what I mean? Like
the
and
who's the purest child?
exactly, you know what
Like
I mean? Like
girl, it's a child.
exactly my point. Like they're all fucking pure. What the hell? Like
Yes.
and yeah, like so the film does do a good job at like just showing because like even there's even that maid who was like who when after Madeinusa had sex, like she was like, why the fuck did you do that? And then went to go tell the mayor, her dad, you know what I mean, like on what she did. And it's like, dude, like you're taking part of this mentality, you know what I mean?
I was like, pinche vieja.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's awful. Like seeing that happen and it kind of speaks to like the whole internalized misogyny aspect to it. The
Mm,
pick me, if you will. And shameless plug, I just made an episode about pick me. I just released it, so
perfect.
go check that out, you guys. This is if your pick me ism isn't addressed in the now, you're going to be causing harm to other children.
Hmm.
That is what happens. If you don't address your internalized misogyny now, you're going to hurt other children going through like who are coming of age. That is what
Exactly.
happens. And same thing
And
for
the
men.
cycle continues.
Exactly. Same thing for the men. If the men don't address their machismo now, if the men don't get rid of their machismo now, then it's just going to impact another child coming of age.
Hmm.
And it's so awful because, but literally, like, that part's so funny to me. It's so funny to me how what's it called? Madeinusa, she was just like, hell no. And she ran. She's like, white boy, where are
Save me in a way.
you? Yeah. Oh,
In a way.
we're gonna get to that. No,
We're getting there. We're getting there.
she was like, I'm not. That was her rebellion. She was like, I'm not letting him take that from me. I'm going to choose who I lay with. And guess what? It's Tiempo Santo, bitch. So I don't get in trouble. And she was like, yes, like I can do all this. And like she had this plan, but the thing is like I question like, did she always have this plan? Was she gonna do it? Or was it like
Like
that
going with the
it
flow type
in
of deal.
yeah, like in the tiempo that specific Tiempo Santo, or like was she planning it from last Tiempo Santo? That's what I'm
Hmm.
thinking, you know what I mean?
So what I think about that is, I think she had the plan and was kind of just waiting for the stars to align, essentially. Because
Yeah.
like in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, when we see her getting the rat poison ready,
Mm-hmm.
she's singing that song where she's talking about like I'm gonna dip, you know, like I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna go to Lima one way or another. That's the very first thing we hear her say, and it's essentially foreshadowing the plan that she hatched, you know what I mean? To get out and was successful. And I don't think I saw you in you mentioned it, so I'm gonna bring it up right now. It's how kind of this film like subverts your expectations of her.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because like from the very beginning, you think she's just gonna fall in love with Salvador and like he's gonna save her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what you're set up to think.
Exactly. Like his name is literally the savior.
Salvador.
Like it's in the name, so it's
Savior.
like you know what I mean? Like, oh, this guy's gonna come, this white man's gonna come from the capital city, whisk me off my feet, and we're gonna fall in love, and like that they're setting that up, like down to
Mhm.
the fucking music choice, you know what I mean?
Yes.
When she looked through the door and he like takes a picture of her, like that is very like
That's romantic. It's supposed to be
yeah, exactly. It's
romantic.
it's it's very book talk-esque.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it is book talk-esque.
It is.
No, no, I can't.
And by the end of it, like you realize, oh, like that she had a plan to leave all along and she did it.
She was a girl boss.
Yeah.
All right. So we got into the gender aspect of it. Now let's get into more social constructs. Colorism and featureism.
Yeah.
So, uh, first of all, it's a result of colonization and self-hatred. And that's
Hmm.
what it is. It's just shame. And I just wanted to know that we see colorism in this film when Made is admiring Salvador. She's like, yeah, his eyes are so light. And then only
Hmm.
to be like shot down by her sister. She's
Yeah.
like, and your eyes, tus ojos de caca, color de caca. And it's like, it'd be your own. It literally
Yeah.
be your
It's
own.
always your own.
And it's
It's always
crazy
your
because
own.
she wasn't saying like, I'm ugly or anything. She was just like,
Yeah, she was
oh, she was just
admiring.
exactly. She was like, "Oh yeah, he has light eyes. I've never seen light eyes before. Like that's really cool." She wasn't like being hateful of herself, but Chale already had that like mentality in
Hmm.
her. Well, your eyes are the color of poop. And it's like, where did you hear that from? Because you guys are both little.
Exactly.
So, you know what I
So someone
mean?
must have said it to her at one point, like,
Mhm.
and then it goes back to the whole like sibling rivalry. That's like, where at any chance he's like just trying to always gonna like beat down her sister and stuff. You know what I mean? Like even if it's not even related to like anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like we're just
So,
taught to like pit each other against each other, and like sometimes
yeah,
colorism goes into that, and featureism goes into that. Like,
like
oh, I'm prettier because I'm lighter skin. I'm the lighter skin sister, and you're the darker sister, or you're the
mhm.
one with curly hair, and I'm the one with straight flowy hair.
And
And
fucking
it's
Mexicanos have that saying, mejorando la raza,
mejorando la
when you know what I
raza.
mean, when you have a
Mhm.
a pale kid.
And
You know what I
that
mean? Or you
literally
get with
comes.
someone that's white, like
And that
yeah.
literally comes from colonization because of
Hmm.
without we use that to climb the caste system, the
Hmm.
ladder, the social ladder, and this needs to be talked about. Like that's also where like Viva la Raza comes from
Yeah.
because it speaks to like the erasure of indigenous cultures and Black people. It still happens, and like these sentiments are still like spoken and like in Peru, in Mexico, in the US, in the whole world. And it's just really ugly. It's just really ugly. And it was interesting for this for Criolla. Oh, and then we consider the director who wrote it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, girl, oh my God. She has light eyes.
There you go.
Who who wrote that line?
Was that you? And
Why'd you make them say that? Why'd you
they
do that?
had to say that.
Yeah,
It's,
exactly. What if
it's crazy
what if
because
they had
like,
never heard that before? Wait.
and they made. Oh my god, that's
See,
just
this is why
pretend. Oh
talking
god,
about
yeah,
these things matter. This is why like
yeah,
the directors and their ethnicities like matter because like
yeah. And like you see this type of colorism like perpetuated through their media. You know what I mean? Like I remember I watched this Mexican horror film from like the 80s, 90s called what was it called? I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a Freddy Krueger-esque type of movie. But legit, everyone was white, like blonde, curly hair, like blue eyes, and I was like, and it was one of the first movies that I watched, when I like really got into this. I was like, is this filmed in Mexico? Like they're speaking Spanish, but they don't look like
dude,
me, and like
yes.
legit, everyone in the movie was like that, and I was like, this feels like it's a movie from America, from like the United States, but they're speaking Spanish, so like I'm kind of fucking lost here. And it's really not until like this past like decade or so that you start to see like a little more inclusion and stuff, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, like me watching all the telenovelas and everything growing up, like people
Exactly.
who looked like people with the dark hair, people with the dark skin are the people are the servants, are the side
Hmm.
characters, are the servants of the
And then you have
hacienda. Always the servants of the hacienda because
there you go.
it's a rich girl in her
And then you
hacienda
have
in
people like
Mexico.
fucking Teresa, who people are just like gawking over. You know what I mean? What's the name?
Yeah.
Barbara Morty? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane. Like seeing it, like just how prevalent it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
And
Teresa, like the most recent like version with Angeli Bouyer, like she had to dye her hair black. She naturally has blonde hair. She dyed her hair black
I didn't even
for
know they remade it.
no, yeah, no, what is it called? It's like the one with Sebastian Rulli. I don't know his name. It's like a
Mm,
blonde guy. Yeah, it's a blonde
mm,
guy.
of course.
And
Speaking of it,
she's French and Mexican, and she's supposed to be like
okay.
the poor like Teresa's supposed to be the poor girl. She dyed her hair
Hmm.
black. Now
Okay,
she's poor.
I just saw her right now. Okay, you
And
saw
yeah,
it.
like yeah, it's just really funny. Like and like yeah, like this is another reason why like I just wanted to make like this like podcast because people don't
Mhm.
talk about that specific like the specific classism, the specific division within the Latino
Yeah,
community.
exactly.
And like in the valley, I'm sure it's like that in California too, but in the valley, like there's the rich side, obviously, there's the rich sides, which is all the whitexicans is what we say. The
Hmm.
people from Jalisco, they'll have their big ass haciendas on their plantation. They're literally the place is called plantations.
Mm.
It's called literally Sharyland Plantations. Like the neighborhood is called Plantation Babes.
Damn.
Like,
Oh my God.
and then they're like, but we're Mexican. It's like,
Cuando le conviene.
uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, like sure. All right.
Hmm.
Speaking of cuando les conviene, do you want to what can you tell me about the male camaraderie you see in the movie?
They're always together. They're always like in packs. I don't think you ever see them completely alone, really. You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
Yeah, they're always together. Like, yeah, like I mean, that's something I have to like really think about. But yeah, like they're always together. They're always in packs. They're
They
never
always have their
really.
posse
Yeah, I think the only time I would see one of them completely alone would be the dad, and that's in his house when he's like
breaking
doing
down.
his thing with yeah, like you know what I mean? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that one thing where he's broken down drinking.
Yeah.
Thinking about it now, I think that's the only time you see a guy by himself completely alone.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
only other person, the only like person I see alone is like the boy. He's a little boy, not a man.
Mm-hmm. And he was by himself. Yeah.
Oh, and the only other man we see by himself-ish is Salvador.
Yeah, but like yeah, exactly. But he's like a foreigner,
He's like,
so it's
yeah, he's like the man. He's like the
mm-hmm.
outsider. He's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I noticed a lot of this like in the show too. Like all the men are kind of always on the same page and they're always following what
Yeah.
Cayo says.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I
It's like
wanted to
mom
just
mentality essentially.
yes, exactly. And I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
point out how like at the beginning of the review we were talking about how Cayo literally respects like the stranger, the outsider more than his daughters.
Mm-hmm.
He respects that
Exactly.
outsider
Just
more than
because
his
they're men.
just because they're men and aparte because he's an
Mm-hmm.
outsider and he's gringo, what they call him.
Mm-hmm.
And like yeah, even though like Cayo like locks Salvador away, it's not really like because he hates him or anything. It's because he knows that Amade, if she sees him, she sees like a handsome young man, she's gonna want to go lay with him.
Try to
Like
run off you.
yeah, like who
You
else
know what?
like
And yeah, part of me was kind of thinking too, do you think they're very like hesitant on having foreigners there because like they know they're doing like insane shit during that week? So they're like, I don't want anyone to come and like see what we're doing essentially, you know what I mean? Because they made like, because they brought it up a couple times where like we don't like um strangers, foreigners coming during this time, you know what I mean? Like, and they never isn't like explain why, but to me it's like, oh, it's because you kind of know you're up to no good type of deal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. At least
Yeah,
that's how I took it. Could be
it
completely
could.
wrong, but
It definitely could be like they definitely wanted to hide him. Like, oh yeah, like the all the
you know what I
men were
mean?
telling him like we don't want him to
Yeah,
see the stuff that's going on.
exactly. You know what I mean? Like,
He gets out, and they're like,
yeah, and then they don't really care. So that's all kind of just like, oh,
yeah.
okay, like I guess they just didn't care about that point. They're just too drunk to know it, I guess.
Right? Like at
But
one point, I feel like at first they were like, we don't know if we can trust him. We don't know if he's gonna go
hmm
and say anything. But then yeah, in their celebration, they're like, come, you know what I mean? Like
yeah, and that's right
it's
because
tiempo santo.
they do involve him during the camaraderie, but like not fully because he didn't get to choose or one of the women he didn't get to sleep with one of the women during that whole cutting tie ceremony thing. So it's like he's involved but still not fully involved.
Yeah, like we'll show
Yeah.
you like a little bit of respect, but like remember, like you're an
Just
outsider.
because you're a man, I'm assuming, you know what I mean? But you're still
Exactly.
not completely one of us.
Yeah. Like
Mm.
imagine if it was like a woman outsider. Like how different would the story be? What would
The
they have
people
done
would
to
have been
her?
locked up in the beginning, and if she got out, they would have put her back in.
Yeah. The last thing I have, the last thing I have on this one is the men of the village hold authority over the village, as seen as they steal the pig of this pig of a señora, disregarding of the boy. So we talked about before. Cool. They are modeling the masculinity for the young boy witnessing this cruel theft. Pobrecito niño.
Mhm.
But yeah, like that's
Bro.
something that I need to like that I noticed right away. And like I see that nowadays too. You see like again like from the perspective I'm here like defuting the perspective that is oh like this is racist, this doesn't happen in pueblos. It's like
hmm
it does happen, but don't get it twisted. It happens in more modernized places too. It happens everywhere.
Yeah, it
And
does.
why
Like,
does it happen everywhere? Because we were all colonized, therefore we're all subscribing to the same things that
hmm
the same I ugly things. I'm just gonna say the same ugly things.
yeah.
But yeah. But this leads me to my favorite theme. So we all know we all know the white savior, right? Well, get ready to get ready to know the white failure.
The white failure.
It wasn't that so good. I was waiting.
I like
I
that.
really worked on it really hard.
I like that. I like that.
So this is what this trope I'm calling the white
Coin it.
failure.
You gotta coin it.
Yep, I'm coining it. This is when a gringo, an outsider, thinks that he's going to save people, but really he gets fucked
It's
in
part of
the
the
end.
plan.
Yep. Yeah. So at first, the audience might be fooled into thinking Salvador will save Madeinusa. Think again. Thoughts.
Yeah, I mean that's the director does a really good job at setting that up. I mentioned it I think already a couple times, like just how you're very just because this is like a very established trope, you know what I mean? So we're just so used to seeing this in movies and other type of stories where you're kind of just expecting him to save her in the end. And like it's subverted in such a like great way, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like oh my God, like that's like when the movie ended, like the first time I watched it, I was like, what the fuck? Like I've never seen something done this like this before, you know? And it was just like I was like, oh my God, like they gave Maddie like so much fucking agency in this film without you realizing it, you know what I mean? Like it was amazing.
Yes, and I think you see it from the beginning. Like um, a lot of women think that they really need to be with how do you say a partner, specifically a masculine partner to feel whole and to do the
hmm
things that they want to do. But and maybe at one point Male thought that maybe, but I don't think so at all.
I don't even think so,
Maybe
yeah.
all she knows is like that. All she knows is the things her mom left from the city.
Which is why
And
that like chest was so near and dear to her.
exactly.
And I think when the dad burns it, like that was her like sign, like I'm fucking leaving now type of deal. You know what I mean? Mm,
Yeah, like this is my sign, like that
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the right thing to do. And yeah, like I love that Made is not saved. She is saved by her. She makes her own
Saved her.
path.
Yeah,
She
she
makes
saved
her
herself.
own path. Exactly. She saved herself. She got, or maybe like not like maybe she got herself out of an ugly situation. But we all know what's coming. You know what I mean? We all know, like now she has to figure it out in the big city.
Yeah.
We all know that, but to see her do this by herself, it's kind of like her saying, if I can get out, and I can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I love seeing
Definitely.
that. I love seeing that big old smile of her looking out the window. Like it made me so happy. I was like,
She made it out.
yeah.
She made it out.
But literally, dude, when she's like, okay, I got out. Oh, okay. After all that stuff happens, after she loses her virginity, um, to someone she chose to lose her virginity to, um, she goes back to her house, and then everyone knows that they had sex,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Salvador tells her, I'm not gonna take you. I'm not taking
Mm-hmm.
you. Even though I fucked you, I'm not taking you. She's like, okay, whatever. Um, and then he sees what's happening to her. Then he
Mm-hmm.
sees what Gallo what essentially like they commit incest. I would say it is rape. I would say it is
Yeah,
rape 100%.
definitely.
But he sees what's happening, and then he's like, shit, man, like,
I might actually have to take her out. Like,
yeah,
she
okay,
screwed here. Like, yeah.
yeah. And then he's like, at least if I get
Mm-hmm.
her out of this, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
he tells her, okay, you can come with me, and she gets all excited. They go, wait, my earrings. She runs back and then sees that her dad broke them. And then remember when we talked about, oh, it was the only time where he was alone. It was the only time where he was
Mm-hmm.
alone. He didn't have his status. He didn't have his mayor status. He didn't have his uh spiritual status, like the I guess priest kind of
Mm-hmm.
he is. He didn't have his father status. He doesn't have his husband status because his wife left to Lima. So there he is alone, trying to like he's taking out all his anger on the thing that's the one thing he can, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
such a powerful like message because like when you take away all these titles, what
Like,
do
what are
they
you left
have?
with?
What do you have? Because when you take like in Madeinusa, she doesn't have any titles, but she has
Mm-hmm.
so much in her. And that's
Mm-hmm.
really beautiful to me.
No,
But
that's a
then,
very good way to look at it.
right? But then she decides to kill him. She's killing him, she's doing all this stuff, and then Salvador comes back. He sees what she did, and then all she says is, he broke my earrings. And then he
Mm-hmm.
calls her crazy. He calls her crazy, and I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
where do your sympathy go? Are you serious? And that's where
Like, did you not just see what happened? Like,
yeah,
come on, man. Like,
like,
no, yeah,
like, so it's like, oh, you don't even understand. I thought, like,
yeah.
I was like, oh, like, he gets it, but then I was like, you're just a man. It's just you. And then I was like, all right. And I feel like something in there clicked for her. And then
Mm-hmm.
you see at the end
She joins the sister.
with her sister.
Mm-hmm.
She joins with her sister, and then her sister believes her. Like when
Yeah.
she was like, I didn't kill him. She believes her. Girl, you know damn well that it was her.
Like,
Like I
how would
feel
he
like
have known it was poison there? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
mm,
like I feel like I don't know. I would like to think that like she knew that it was Mave and that they just blamed it on the gringo, but
yeah.
like
And
parts of me, it's like it could be both, could be whatever.
I want to say that she knows. I think this kind of goes back to what we were saying, how there's that whole like when she kisses the dad, it's the whole like saying goodbye to that type of deal, and like that's why we see them together. You know what I mean? Like we see them actively together in unison. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
literally in
yeah,
unison, they both scream it, and it's like they
hmm
look like the twins from The Shining almost,
yeah,
right? They give the
exactly.
but so much, but 1,000 times better.
Yeah. with that
Um,
Peruvian flavor.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly. With some ají.
there we go.
No, literally like, and this brings me to the next theme that I noticed, which was trauma responses.
Mhm.
So trauma responses can look so confusing and can look so different from like an outside perspective, which is what we see Salvador like seeing. He's like, oh, she's crazy.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? That's what we see him
Mhm.
doing. But like as someone who like has experience, I say, and people and as a woman, just as a woman in general, like I was like, girl, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And like, I get it. Like in fact, you should have done a little more. In fact,
Mhm.
you could have been a little more cruel actually, and it's still okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, like um yeah, so this causes people to demonize like the victims sometimes. Like
Definitely.
because when
Mhm.
you see a little girl with like who killed her dad, what are you gonna think? Oh my God, she's crazy, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you don't hear what she went through. You don't
You
hear
don't
her
know why she did it. Like,
exactly.
what was the reasoning? What was the?
And so many kids that's the story of so many kids in foster care systems. That's the story of
Mhm.
so many kids. That's why like whenever I hear like things that kids like like when I say kids, not kids, like 17-year-olds and below, 18-year-olds and
Mhm.
below, even 20 some year olds, like you know what I mean? Like I'm like, oh, you're like little, like you don't know
You're like,
shit. You don't know
yeah,
shit.
you're like a baby and adult, if anything. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you're over 18, like, but like still younger than like 21, 22. Like,
Yeah, because I'm 23 and like I feel the huge difference between 23 and 18. It's
yeah,
huge.
big
It's
time.
huge, but I still feel like, oh, I still have like way to go. I
A
still
lot of
think
growing.
know that
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just really crazy and I love this. And let me just say, Madeinusa was never given the language to advocate for herself or her autonomy, but Salvador does not show empathy for the horror that she lived. The
Mhm.
very same pure Virgencita that he placed on a pedestal in his mind was his very doom. She let herself be guided by her emotions, and it resulted in her doing whatever it took to leave that house and pueblo, as she should.
Big time.
Yes.
She deserved to get out of there. Like,
And
it was needed.
and then the last thing I
So
want to
needed.
talk about, the last thing I want to talk about is the rat omens.
Mm.
At the beginning of the film, we see her putting rat poison around her house. And then she finds a dead rat. So the poison worked. And she goes
Mm.
to her sister and she tells her, I saw a dead rat. It's a good omen. And then her sister's like, girl, give it up. Like, they're not good omens. It's just a dead rat. Like, chill.
Mm.
Again, the sister rivalry. But she knows in her heart, like, something's coming and I need to get
Something,
ready.
yeah.
And that was like her prompt, right? That was her prompt for
Mm.
everything. She let herself be guided by nature, by her emotions, and by chance. And I love
Yeah.
that for her. And then at the end of the movie, you see a rat nest.
Oh,
Uh
that's right.
yeah, you see a rat nest and you see that symbolizes new beginnings, birth symbolizes new beginnings,
Mm.
more generations. And to see what she does. And yeah, I think it was a really good ending to that. That it
Big
ended
time.
just how I wanted it to end. For me,
Perfect.
this movie was like this. It was a roller coaster like this. So
Just keep on going. And then
that's
you're just
how
all
it
over the
was to
place.
me. And like once it was
Mm.
down, it kept coming and it kept coming and I was like, yes,
That's
it
awesome.
was insane. And do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to what I said in the very beginning where I'm gonna have to like credit you about calling this film a horror film because I'm definitely gonna have to write about it. Like I didn't realize so like I've watched this film a couple times, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I didn't realize how much I had to say until we actually started talking about it right now. And I'm just like, oh my God, like this film is even fucking better than what I gave it credit to initially, you know what I mean? And then it's just like thinking about it now, like the horror, like I saw so many parallels with like at first my parallels with Midsommar was just aesthetic, you know what I mean? But then there was that one scene where what is it? Where Made sees Salvador for the first time and she's like looking through that door, remember? And
Mm-hmm.
like the camera focuses on her eye, and we see that with Danny where she's like looking through the keyhole, and she sees Kristen having sex with the local. And if you think about it, like I know I'm telling you, like I saw this again, I was like, oh my God, I found something here because it's like it's another symbol of her release. You know what I mean? And again, it goes back to the release with Sin, the release of the male authority figure. When she sees when speaking of Midsommar, when Danny sees Kristen, it's her release of letting go of her past. Same shit kind of happens here because she sees Salvador, and it's like she sees a way to let go of her past. And I was just like, oh my God, like you don't know what you just done here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and then I was just like, fuck, man.
There's so much. Like there's so much. I'm so happy
it
that
just
you
it just keeps on coming out.
yeah.
Like it's just one of those films, you know what I mean, that you're just always gonna grab something new, something more.
And it was so amazing.
And
And I'm so happy that I
it's
got the
just
chance to talk about it with you.
yeah, like it was amazing. Like it's I'm telling you, like talking about it with you, like I didn't realize just how much deeper it is. You know what I mean? Like I knew this was gonna be a very dense film, but again, like the only times I've been able to see it or whatever, like it's been strictly through my lens, my perspective, you know what I mean? And obviously like a guy in his 30s is gonna see something entirely different from someone like you know what I mean? So like I really appreciated and enjoyed like seeing how you saw this film because like you related to it in such a completely different way. And
Yes.
like just and they're just yeah, it was just great to be able to like talk about just how amazing this film is. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a good film that I really do think everyone should watch at least once. You know what I
And you are making sure of that because you landed it on my For You page.
mean? And
You
there you
landed
go.
on my For You page.
And
So
there you go. And you
yeah,
got your family to see it. Like that's
I
just
got my
like I
family to
love
see it.
hearing that like my work is working for the lack of a better term. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
I
Like
love that. That's what we want. That's what
yeah.
we want, and that's what I want for you and in our future, and for this just to keep growing into whatever is meant for you and whatever you want it to grow into.
Mm,
And I really like you said, there is such a big gap in in true horror because
yeah,
who knows horror better than us? Like
exactly. Like
who knows horror better
we've
than us?
lived it. We've been living through it like in one way or another, you know what I mean? Like it's just that's one of the reasons why I always end up gravitating more towards POC, indigenous, like Latin American cinema. Like they've gone through so much hell and still living through it. Like there's this movie called Exuma that just came out this year that's about Korea essentially like um how they're tackling having to be colonized by the Japanese at one point, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like we see them tackle that whole idea and it does it in such a great way, you know what I mean? Like it's a scary ass film, but it still goes into some pretty intense topics, just like these films, you know what I mean? Like they're great films overall, but you really start digging into these little like intricacies and you realize just how much is in there, you know what I mean? And that's quite amazing.
I'm so glad that we were able to do this. I'm so glad that I was able
Yeah,
to offer my fan perspective from
yeah,
for this
very much
movie.
appreciated.
And yeah, I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful. This is amazing. All right. On that note, please let us know where we can check out more stuff of you. I believe it was the Dread Central.
Yeah, so I all my stuff, most of my writing will be on Dread Central because I have a monthly column with them, and then I
I'm about to
am doing
binge
my
your
best.
I'm about to binge all that.
Go nuts. I hope you find another favorite movie then. So yeah, so most of my writing will be found on Dread Central, and then I try my best to release like one video a day on TikTok. It's not always going to be about Latin American horror, but I do try my best to kind of like just really stick within Latin American POC, like indigenous um, horror films and stuff.
All right.
Yeah,
And like always, it'll all be linked in the footnotes, so you guys don't even worry about it. You will be seeing more of Mikey. Hopefully, we can do more reviews together
yeah,
in the
definitely,
future. I
definitely.
would
I'm
love
so
to do
down.
that.
I'm so down. Hell yeah.
And and yeah, this was so much fun. Keep doing what you're doing. It's amazing. I will keep celebrating what you're doing.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
Likewise.
you being here, and that's it. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Malcriada Thoughts. This was your host, Sodra Knives, with
Mikey Peralta Jr.
signing off.